A few weeks back, we learned that police were filing criminal charges against several students accused of assaulting a freshman football player at Woburn High School this past fall, video of which was circulated on social media afterward. 14-year-old Johnathan Coucelos said he was jumped by teammates in the locker room, punched, hit with water bottles, and that someone pulled down his pants and grabbed his genitals, just one of several assaults, threats, and instances of bullying against him. But now the Boston Globe is reporting that Woburn High officials knew of complaints about assault and hazing in their football program for years and did nothing about it. The Globe found that in 2018, a 15-year-old player was kicked so hard in the head by a teammate that he stumbled days from the practice field and vomited. And after that, his coach, Jack Belcher, told him to get back on the practice field. That incident was reported to school officials, but the boy's parents say the school failed to address it. And other former players and parents told the Globe that Belcher often encouraged older teammates to, quote, toughen up younger ones. I'm joined now by Johnathan Coucelos, along with his parents, Kevin and Jeannie Coucelos, and their attorney, Peter Hahn. We also reach out to Coach Belcher, Woburn High principal Jessica Callanan, but have not heard back as of this taping. We did hear from Woburn Superintendent Crowley. He sent us a statement we'll get to in a few minutes. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Johnathan, let me start by complimenting you for your courage to come forward. I know how tough it is. After the September 25th incident, the bullying and harassment did not stop, did it, Johnathan?
No.
What kinds of things did you encounter?
I would be getting assaulted. I would get harassed.
And you got a text, from what I understand, you say from someone, a fellow student, I think someone on the football team, who asked if you wanted to be raped again. Is that true?
Yes.
How has this affected you personally, Johnathan?
I lost half of my friends. Like it doesn't feel the same anymore to be out in public.
And how about your day-to-day life? Is it harder? Is it different? I mean,
it's just different for me. Everything changed. I used to wake up and go out with like half of my friends, and now I'm just locked up in my room and finally going into a different school. But
you know, Jeannie and Kevin, I want to talk to you. Jeannie, starting with you, how do you feel about how the school system has responded to all of this?
I'm going to speak as a parent and myself as a teacher. I would expect, as even if a principal or a teacher, that they would come out and help any type of children in the situation. I just feel, since all this has been happening, I've been feeling very emotional at times. I've been experiencing a lot of anxiety. I have two little ones as well, and one where he goes to school by himself with no sibling. Or I'm just now off guard. I'm nervous of what's going to happen next.
Kevin, let me read to you something I'm sure you've seen. The Woburn Public Schools Superintendent, Matthew Crowley, sent this to the Woburn community on February 15th. I wish to be unequivocal in the fact that I join every member of the administration in condemning physical and sexual violence in all forms. We're committed to a thorough, multifaceted, fact-finding operation. We pledge to be forthcoming regarding the results of those investigations and to enact their findings and recommendations. And several months earlier, on December 17th, in a statement to the Globe, Crowley said, "We acknowledge and support the student and family." What's your reaction to what Crowley has had to say?
That's a completely lie. That's a totally lie. There's no support. They haven't given my son or even us any support whatsoever. It's just so wrong of how they're handling it. It gets me emotional every time I have to talk about this, because how the school system completely failed to protect one of their students. Us as a parent, when we drop our kids off at school, they're in charge of our kids. And they failed.
Peter, can I get you into this conversation? What is the status? My understanding is charges were brought against 7 of these young people. Am I right about that? And what's the status of those charges?
Jim, first of all, you asked Kevin and Jeannie about that statement and how they're doing. In terms of Crowley's statement, that is way too little, way too late. The first event, the assault in the locker room, happened on September 25th.
Yeah.
And Johnathan immediately reported it to a coach, and nothing happened. On October 12th, the family went to the police, and things appeared to be like things were going to happen. But the police claimed that they were doing an investigation. And it took pressure from us on the police and the district attorney's office to actually try to bring charges against 7 students, 5 of whom assaulted Johnathan in the locker room and 2 who assaulted him on subsequent days. And so in December, we were informed of that. We don't think there are enough charges, by the way, and there are no charges against adults. But the police finally informed us that in February, they were going to seek charges at a clerk of magistrate's hearing against those 7 students. And my understanding is that that was continued at the request of at least one of the attorneys to a March date. So right now, months later, there are no charges against any juveniles and no charges being sought against any adults by the police department.
And what explanation do you get as to this no accountability, legal accountability at least, on the part of adults? What do you make of that, Peter?
It's infuriating. I know it is outrageous, and the family wants to pursue charges against the adults themselves because the police department and the district attorney's office are not doing what they should be doing by protecting Johnathan and seeking those charges themselves.
Peter, I mentioned that the Globe is reporting that there were incidents of bullying in past years. A statement put out again by the school system says they investigated those allegations. This is pre the Johnathan situation, and that they were, quote, unsubstantiated. How do you respond to that?
We know that the culture of the Woburn Memorial High School football team allowed what happened to Johnathan in September and after that. That goes to the coaches, it goes to the head coach, it goes to the athletic director. All of them need to be held accountable for what they allowed to happen to Johnathan, not only by the culture, but by the lack of supervision when there was supposed to be supervision.
When you say accountability, Peter, do you mean criminal accountability? Do you mean job loss? What are you looking for in terms of the adults involved in this situation?
At the very least, job loss. If there are crimes that were committed, then we want those charges brought in court.
Peter, one last thing for you. The Globe reports that 10 captains, some juniors, some seniors, on the football team, in a written statement came to the defense of the coach, of Belcher, and of the whole coaching team. What's your reaction to what they had to say? And by the way, they go out of their way to say they don't tolerate bullying, that sort of thing. But again, proceed to praise or at least come to the support of the coaching staff.
I see favoritism in that, Jim. If you look at the Globe article, there are the haves and the have-nots on the football team. And so it appears that the haves support what's going on and the have-nots become the victims.
You know, Johnathan, back to you for a second. Your parents are Portuguese and Puerto Rican. I know that in the Globe it says they identify as people of color. You had made a statement to the Globe about if you had been white and the people who assaulted or harassed you had been people of color, there might have been a different outcome. What did you say and what did you mean?
I'm pretty sure I would have been expelled by now.
So you think there's racism involved in this too?
Yes.
Parents, do you feel the same way, starting with you, Kevin? Do you think that part of the...
Absolutely.
Expand on that for me. Why do you say absolutely?
Just like Johnathan said, if he was white and this happened to another white teammate, it'd be fine. But how he is race, the color, that's what they're doing.
You know, Kevin, before I leave you, your wife and Johnathan talked about how they've been affected by this. How's your life changed?
Oh, it definitely changed big time.
How so?
Definitely worried about him.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, on the phone with him, texting him, making sure he's safe. He's eating. He's waking up.
You know, Peter, finally, in the last minute we talk a lot in this society about justice and accountability. You explained what you thought accountability would be for the parents. What is an outcome, an end result that you think, I mean, nothing will undo what was done to Johnathan and his family. What's a fair end result here?
There needs to be accountability for the adults who were supposed to protect Johnathan and did not. So that's the coaching staff, that's the athletic director, that's the principal, that's the superintendent. We know that these things have been reported before. We know that these things have happened before, yet many of the adults are still in positions of power within the district, and they need to be held accountable. We have given notice to the school district and to the city of Woburn that we intend on filing a civil lawsuit against Woburn.
Fair enough. Peter, Kevin, Jeannie, and particularly Johnathan, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would say
Thank
to
you,
the
Jim.
coach, the principal, and the superintendent, I would urge you to show the same level of courage Johnathan had by being here, and I invite all three of you to join me as well. Thank you again for your time.